Hello guys, so today I'm going to be talking on my experience as a midwife in One Born Every Minute. So I received a lot of messages from you guys who recognize me on One Born Every Minute, and it definitely meant the world to me. So I thought I would go into a little bit of detail about what it was like. So for me, during my student years, One Born Every Minute was my obsession. The UK version I used to watch endlessly. Of course, it did show a bit of a dramatized version of birth, but I found I learnt a lot from it. When I found out that they would be shooting One Born Every Minute at the hospital that I worked at, I was out of my mind. I could not believe it. It felt so surreal because it was something that I obsessed over as a student. So to find out that they would be filming that in the hospital I worked at was ridiculous. When they first introduced the idea to us midwives that One Born Every Minute was coming, I think everyone at first was quite hesitant. Of course, you're having these cameras come in to the birth unit and that are going to be all around, and all your actions are going to be watched. It seemed like quite a scary concept. However, as the ideas began to as we sat with the ideas and it began to warm up to us, it didn't seem that scary at all. All the staff that were there and everyone producing the TV show were all so lovely and so incredible. We also had really good support from our managers and educators who were going to ensure that a really woman-centered and non-dramatized version would be shown. One point to note was that we knew anything that was filmed, and say if something had gone wrong, it could be used as evidence. However, you know, on reflection to that, no one likes to practice fear-based midwifery or fear-based obstetrics. So we were all sort of confident in our abilities to follow policies and procedures and provide good care. So why not have it shown? So essentially it all moved super fast. I believe they filmed sort of like June, July, and it was on air in November. So it was a bit of a whirlwind. How they sort of did it in terms of recruitment was they recruited the actual women, and then whatever midwife happened to be on shift and who had consented to the show would be displayed. So we had specific rooms that were set up with on-the-wall cameras. So no, there weren't any camera crews watching in the room watching the birth. It was all on the walls and you didn't really notice it happen. If a woman had come in, they would just write, "There are One Born Every Minute woman." And so yeah, midwives would say if they were okay to look after them, and the people going in to receive would also, you know, be okay with the whole process. How it ended up coming about that I got to be on it was that one of my caseload women, Lauren, who I believe is in episode 4, had consented to be on it, and I was also super happy to be on it. It's sort of like a childhood dream coming to fruition. So once it was decided, we were sort of recruited, and then it was just a matter of waiting for the birth. So I'll link down below some of the shorts that were made regarding the birth. You can actually see the birth. You can see me talking about caseload. There's a few little snippets. I believe they have some episodes on YouTube, but not all of them. A lot of people asked me if I was nervous or if it was super nerve-wracking to be on it, but I honestly think like once you're in the room and a labor's happening, that midwifery instinct just sort of kicks in. As explained in Lauren's case, it was sudden that we had to do an induction, so it wasn't expected, and so we were just sort of going with what was happening at the moment. Once you were in the room, you could sort of see the cameras moving in your peripheral, but you know, as a midwife, you're sort of just focused on what's happening with the woman, providing best care and sort of overseeing the whole process. In Lauren's case, her birth was super quick and the whole process just felt like a bit of a whirlwind. In terms of what they showed was obviously more to do with the birth and not so much the labor. It was a little bit dramatized, but for me, nothing too crazy. I thought it really showed what a complex labor and birth could look like. I was so proud of Lauren at the birth. She was so strong. All the things that we talked about during her pregnancy again came to fruition. She wanted to try to avoid an epidural because her last 2 babies she had an epidural, as explained in the episode. And so to be there with her and to already have that good bond with her, and then to have that experience with her and her husband and the family, was just incredible. And to have that captured, I think, is just something really special. How it sort of worked is they would get their consent initially, they would film the birth, and then afterwards they would go to the woman's home, show them the birth, and at that moment the women could pull out if they wanted to, and they would still get a copy of their births. So one reward, I suppose, of being on One Born Every Minute was that you got this birth tape, no matter whether you consented or not. My reflections on the whole 1 every minute experience was that it was wonderful. I felt so supported by the team. I feel like they really tried to represent birth as it is, and it wasn't too dramatized or crazy. And I thought it was super informative for women who may have the conditions that Lauren was experiencing or be going through the same situation. It was such a good learning tool. About 2 weeks after the birth, I did an interview where they asked me lots of questions to try and sort of explain what was happening in the birth. I found that really grueling, but really informative, in that they were just trying to pull out and explain the birth the best they could. I found myself getting trapped a lot in sort of medical terms, medical abbreviations, but through it all, through the end, they were able to sort of get a cut that showed best what was happening in the birth and the experience of being a caseload midwife. Ultimately, I felt so incredibly grateful to be part of that experience, to have something documented of my journey in caseload, the relationship that I had with the particular woman that was on the show, and what work looks like as a midwife was such a privilege. To be able to show my family and friends what my everyday work looks like, and to show them the beauty that I get to experience and why I'm a midwife and the absolute highs of births, is just something so cool. Like, my mum was just so proud. She was sort of showing everyone, and people were sort of telling her, I saw your daughter on TV, and that was obviously just a really cool thing. But just being able to tell the story of midwifery, and something that I'm incredibly passionate about and that I could talk people to until they're like fallen asleep, was really cool. I love birth, I love midwifery, I love continuity of care. Altogether, it was super enjoyable. If you have any more questions about 1 every minute, feel free to leave them below and I will reply to them. But otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you're able to get something out of it.